Did you know that there is an angel who no Mass mentions, no Bible clearly describes, and that the Vatican has been trying so hard to hide for centuries? Behind the golden curtains of faith, secret documents reveal the existence of a celestial entity, unlike anything you've ever heard, a being so powerful and so mysterious that his name was deliberately erased from official records. But why? What is so dangerous about this angel that he should be silenced by one of the most influential institutions on earth? Today you will walk with me through the dark corridors of forbidden history and discover the secret that could forever change the way you see the divine. Imagine a library so old that time itself seems to have forgotten it. A silent place where each scroll sleeps shrouded in dust and secret. Now imagine a monk in the middle of the 20th century, by chance opening a yellowed manuscript covered in strange symbols and almost erased letters. He wasn't looking for revelations, but he found something that shouldn't be there. There, among well-known names like Miguel, Raphael, and Gabriel, an unexpected name appeared. Sariel, a name absent from preaching, absent from prayers, absent from church walls. But why? This name was not accompanied by glory or fall. He carried another kind of weight, the weight of forced silence. According to the manuscript, Sariel was an angel who had fulfilled his mission, but not in the way men wanted. He did not fall like Lucifer, nor did he rebel. He just refused to obey human orders that contradicted the divine essence. And that's why he became dangerous. Unlike angels who serve as a shield, messenger, or warrior, Sariel carried something that the others did not have: autonomy. If faith were a castle, Sariel was the crack that allowed light to enter. And too much light bothers those who live in the shadows. It was not long before his name was removed from the sacred records, but not all traces have disappeared. In hidden texts, visions of mystics, and even symbols carved in ancient churches, Sariel continued to manifest itself discreetly, like an echo that refuses to die. And most disturbingly, many of these records said that Sariel had not been banished by God, but by men. The question that remains is, why was an angel obedient to the truth condemned to oblivion? And more importantly, what did he represent that still causes so much fear today? The answer takes us to dive even deeper. At the end of the first manuscript where Sariel's name appeared, there was an enigmatic sentence: "He hears what man silences, and silences what man shouts." For a long time, this sounded like a riddle, until scholars not recognized by official theology found echoes of the name Sariel in Gnostic and mystical texts rejected by the Church. In these writings, Sariel does not appear as an angel of war, nor of punishment, nor of glory. He is described as a messenger of inner listening, an angel who whispers truths not from above, but from the depths of the soul. While the other angels came with orders, Sariel came with a question: "Can you hear what's inside you?" That changed everything, because he did not lead the faithful to the altar, but to conscience. It did not require kneeling, but rising with understanding. Sariel was like a spiritual mirror. It did not show the sky, but her own essence. And that for many religious leaders throughout history was simply unacceptable. Imagine an entire society shaped to obey, be guided, controlled. And suddenly, a celestial being appears saying, "You don't need anyone between you and God." It was like lighting a fire in a room full of gunpowder. For this reason, Sariel was considered unfit, not because of what he did, but because of what he inspired. And the most curious thing is that instead of falling from the sky like the myth of Lucifer, Sariel fell out of memory. It was erased with more care than an enemy. Because unlike a declared enemy, Sariel was a very dangerous friend. History tends to remember the Council of Nicaea in the year 325 as the great milestone in the organization of the Christian faith. It was there that dogmas were defined, gospels accepted or rejected, and that the structure of the Church began to take on the shape we know today. But what few know is that among the most controversial decisions, there was an even darker one, those that were taken in silence. No official minutes mention Sariel. No recorded discussion mentions his name. And yet, he ceased to exist there. Not by mistake, but by choice. Parallel testimony from dissident priests, isolated letters, and fragments preserved far from Rome suggests that Sariel was deliberately excluded from the canon, not because it represented evil, but because it represented free access to good. Imagine a bridge that leads directly to the divine, without the need for priests, doctrines, or rituals. Sariel was that bridge, and the council chose to demolish this crossing. It was the beginning of the construction of a system where salvation would be mediated, not discovered, where the divine would be administered by hierarchies, not felt in the intimacy of the soul. And Sariel, he was not fought nor cursed. It was deleted, as if it had never existed, as if the simple act of citing him was a risk. But there is something that the ancients forget. Silence, when forced, echoes louder over time. After Sariel was erased from official scriptures, it was expected that he would disappear completely. But the truth has a curious habit. It survives in the details. In Europe's oldest cathedrals, those that have survived wars, fires, and renovations, there are images that have never attracted so much attention until now. Angels blindfolded, holding circular mirrors in their hands. None of them carry a sword. None of them step on demons. They just offer the reflection. At first glance, it may seem like just an artistic expression. But when you look closely, everything changes. These mirrors are not simple ornaments. They are facing the faithful, not the angel. And they don't reflect the sky, they reflect themselves. It's as if that silent figure said, "Don't look at me, look inside." And this goes directly back to what we saw about Sariel, the angel who pointed to conscience, not obedience. Some independent scholars call these works veiled art, suggesting that anonymous artists, perhaps inspired by mystical traditions that survived in secret, used their brushstrokes in silent protest. Think about it. In the middle of the middle, ages, painting an angel that invites man to look in the mirror instead of bowing down. It was an act of courage in disguise. And the question remains, if these artists knew about Sariel, would they have had access to prohibited manuscripts, dreams, visions? Or did Sariel never leave, just chose another way to express herself? Year 1893. An isolated abbey in the hills of northern France. Among silent monks and damp stone corridors, a man lives a routine of prayers and silence. Until something changes. The monk was called Emile. On the outside, an ordinary servant. Inside, someone unintentionally awakens. It all started with dreams. At first, they were vague images. White lights, an endless garden, a figure with closed eyes. But then the dreams started talking. In them, the same voice repeated night after night, "The truth is in your blood." Emile started recording everything in a leather notebook, hidden behind a loose stone on the chapel's altar. He reported sensations, visions, and a constant presence. An angel who didn't demand to kneel or confess sins, just feel. He described him as someone who did not speak but made people understand, that didn't judge, just revealed what already existed inside the heart. The writings began to circulate discreetly among some brothers of the order, but instead of curiosity, came fear. A few months later, Emile was transferred to a monastery in Germany without explanation. Days later, his diary disappeared, and according to an anonymous report, it was burned by superior order, but not everything was lost. Excerpts from the diary were copied by a young apprentice, who later handed the papers over to a French historian. Among the fragments saved, there was a revelation that echoes to this day. He showed me the mirror. I saw myself, and I understood that faith is not the bridge to God. It is the river where He already lives in me. This simple phrase called into question centuries of religious structure, and once again, the name Sariel appeared between the lines. You might even think that Sariel's story was left behind among ancient parchments and dusty cathedrals. But what if I told you that he never stopped appearing? Over the past 30 years, independent researchers, especially those who study dream experiences and transcendental phenomena, have begun to notice an intriguing pattern. Thousands of people in different parts of the world describe the same dream. Men and women, children and the elderly. People who have never met, separated by oceans and languages, but united by the same night meeting. An angel in white robes with closed eyes, who doesn't speak, just extend your hand. He doesn't threaten, it doesn't require it. Don't order, it just stays there, present, as if inviting us to remember something that the soul already knew. Interestingly, none of the people who reported this dream attended religious institutions heavily. Most were searching for something within, a reunion with yourself, and they all said the same thing when they woke up. I felt peace, but also a calling. Called for what? To look inside, to hear what the world is silent about, to realize that the divine does not need to be shouted, it whispers. And once again, in the reports collected by therapists, psychoanalysts, and researchers of the collective unconscious, a chilling detail emerges. Some called this angel Sariel, without ever having heard that name before. How is this possible? Coincidence? Suggestion? Ancestral memory? Or does Sariel in silence continue to try to awaken what power tried to erase? So far, we have seen that Sariel did not fall from the sky. She fell from history, not for bringing chaos, but for carrying a dangerous spark, the idea that you are already capable of connecting with the divine without intermediaries. And this is where the real fear lies. Sariel does not confront God. He confronts those who claim to represent him. Therefore, what the Vatican fears is not Sariel himself, but what he awakens. Because an angel who does not demand dogma, who does not impose penance, who does not command submission, free, and a freeing faith, it doesn't depend. Imagine what happens to a system built for centuries to be the bridge between man and God. If suddenly people realize that this bridge can be born within them. Sacraments, hierarchies, guilt as control, all of this falls apart when the divine is found again in the inner silence. Sariel represents a shake-up in the structures of institutionalized spiritual power. He does not offer a new religion. It breaks with the idea that we need one, and that this cannot be accepted by those who built empires based on the idea of spiritual exclusivity. Therefore, Sariel's name was taken away, its symbols hidden, its echoes muffled. But there is one detail that no power in the world can control. The seed that Sariel planted is not born outside. It is born inside, and it continues to germinate. For centuries they tried to erase his name, burn the records, hide the signs, but what is true does not disappear. It transforms. And that's what Sariel did. He stopped inhabiting books and began to inhabit awakened consciousness. Today it lives in every person who looks within and dares to ask, what if God is already here with me? Sariel does not need temples or rituals. It manifests itself in the silent courage of those who seek meaning without fear, in the intuition of those who feel that the sacred is not a future promise, but an intimate presence. He lives in his grandmother, who prays alone in the backyard, without following any formulas, in the child who feels the divine when observing the sky, in the man who finds peace in silence, far from the altar. These people don't know the name Sariel, but they live what he represents, and that's where the real miracle lies. The forbidden angel remains among us, as an idea, as an impulse, as an inner truth. It does not need to be accepted by institutions because it has already been accepted by the soul of those who have awakened. And maybe That was the plan all along. Don't lead crowds, but light hearts. In the end, perhaps the big question was never who Serial is, but what it awakens in us. After all, how many other secrets were kept quiet just because they taught something too simple? That the divine cannot be bought, cannot be inherited, cannot be imposed? He remembers. And if everything we need to touch the sacred is already within us, quiet, discreet, just waiting for us to stop and listen? Serial doesn't scream. He does not demand to be followed. He just extends his hand and let the rest happen in silence. If today, when I finish this video, something inside was lit, maybe, just maybe, you've already found it. See you in the next mystery. And remember, not every secret is meant to be hidden. Some are made to set you free. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video so we can reach as many people as possible with this incredible content.